greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. Hey, when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number one.
This is Fins TV, a Miami Dolphins inspired podcast. It's fueled by the power of positivity.
Welcome to VC. Your host is Sammy, aka Fins Boss and as always my co-host Steve. Welcome to a Victory edition of Fins TV.
Sammy, it's the most wonderful time of the year, my buddy. It's the holidays. It's still warm in Florida. It's freezing cold up north, and we've got a chance to celebrate a Dolphins overtime victory, and best of all, knocking the Jets out of any chance of playoff contention.
Absolutely. I was speaking with our pre-production meeting where a special guest, Jake Mendel from Another Dolphins Podcast. It's warm and toasty in Puerto Rico. It's 83 degrees over here, so, you know.
Not that warm. Not that warm.
This is okay. So on this episode, we're going to talk about how the Dolphins staying alive, the playoff race. The Dolphins found a way to win on Sunday against the Jets. Also, they're going to travel to Houston to face the Texans. The Texans has been, you know, they're achieving, you might say, but, you know, they're still a threat to beat the Dolphins on Sundays. If the Dolphins win, they're staying in the playoff hunt, so we'll see what happens. And we're going to dust up the old confidence meter. We're going to revisit the question about how confident are we on the Dolphins defense down the stretch. You know, the Dolphins defense for sure. They believe what Matt Armstrong said last week about the Dolphins having a bye. This last past Sunday, the Dolphins defense certainly had a bye, especially some Jalen Ramsey and others. They played like they were on the bye. So, you know, hopefully they find a way to get to Houston next week.
I didn't even think about Matt's comments about it was a bye. I just sat there thinking, this is exactly the Miami Dolphins team that we've seen so many times over the years that we play to the level of the competition. Well, except for Thanksgiving evening, we didn't. Oh. But, you know, we play to the level of the competition, so I can't say I was entirely surprised. But the ending was definitely worth sticking around for. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So let's start with the Dolphins over the thriller win against the Jets.
First and 10. Big to H.M. A gun down the middle. This time it's Hill. Brought down by Reed.
This offense has had to make an adjustment. McDaniel and Tua have had to make as well.
H.M. the back. First and 10 for Tua. Down the seam. They've got his receiver again. 24-yard line in the afternoon. Off to a big day.
Right on cue, Kevin. No plays of 20 yards. A 21-yard.
H.M. back there with him. 4th and 2. Wilson on the move. Lamb with the block. Underneath they go. Wow. First down.
Field goal range or to take a shot at the end zone.
H.M. is in. Second down 4. And, there's a nice pass and a cut by Waddle.
Well, now you got to hustle and get up. Should be plenty of time.
Tua 0 of 5. Passing the last 2 Miami drives. 3rd and 10. On the screws here with the first down. Leaping catch by Hill.
Looks like Jets are going man-to-man. They got everybody near the line of scrimmage.
4th and goal. To the end zone. Caught, touchdown. Hill.
Side, it causes, watch how DJ Reed passes it off. So now all of a sudden you got Tyreek Hill on a safety. So you got that matchup. You switched it from corner.
Tua for 2. Waddle got it. Working on Reed. We're tied at 23.
They're giving cushion to Tyreek here on the bottom.
Second down 10. And they go downfield to Hill. Banged out of bounds by Reed for Jason Sanders. And he got it. First and 10. Smith again. Blocked by Lamb. Blocked by Eichenberg. Tackle made by Jalen Mills. A catch and run to the 36, 14-yard pickup. Good time to the end zone. Got it! Smith, touchdown! The Dolphins win!
Jonnu Smith lined up on the far right. He works his way all the way across the field. Give protection the credit for giving Tua time and for Jonnu Smith the time.
Well, still the Dolphins on their way to stay alive, if you know what I mean. So the Dolphins win on Sunday. the Dolphins did not insist for most part of the game, but when they need to come through, they find a way to get a key sack, a key stop, and force them to a clock stop, just a field goal, and Dolphins find a way to win overtime. But I want to know your thoughts about the game, Steve.
It's such a strange season, and I want to talk about this in our feature segment, but it's just so interesting because during the games when Tua was not available to play, the defense showed up, and they were hands down one of the best defenses in the NFL. And now that Tua's back, it's like the defense, which, yeah, they've had some injuries, but for the most part, I feel like we're still well-staffed and capable. To quote one of my favorite guys on Finn's TV, Matt, we're not pulling guys off the couch to have them start in 5 days. So I don't understand the transition that's happened, but I don't want to say too much because I find oftentimes that I talk a little bit too much and I end up saying things that some of our co-hosts and special guests want to say during these segments. But one thing that did get really tiring during this game was seeing the flashing chyron at the bottom of the screen to say, first time this happened for the Jets since 2021. First time that Aaron Rodgers has done this since 2021. And it wasn't saying that first time he threw 5 interceptions in the game since 2021. It was the first time he went over 300 yards. The defense just couldn't get off the field again. They let those drives get extended. And it was a lot of many third downs that we just couldn't push to the point where they were forced to punt until when it really mattered at the end of the game, and we flipped it some. So when I was looking into some of the stats about the game here, Sammy, it was you see the win probability meter that they based off the metrics and the algorithms and everything, and it was started off with the Dolphins, which their initial drive was incredible how well they went down the field. And then it went heavily into the Jets' territory the whole time up until we found a way to finally stop them and put ourselves in a position. But really incredible game. Want to give some shout-outs here, but I don't know. I mean, for as frustrating as the game was, as I'm sitting here looking at those highlights that you flashed onto the screen, looking into some of the game recap information online, I'm left with a lot of highlights more than I am really wanting to focus on the defense.
Absolutely. For sure, the Dolphins, we talked about many times about Tua having this kind of game. The Dolphins, Tua carrying the team on his back. He did it twice. He did it on the last drive of the game and the overtime. And, we talked so many times about Tua not bringing it. When it came to they were laughing on the sideline. I know House, our partner on Another Dolphins Podcast with Jake, was frustrated about the Dolphins laughing on the sideline. Me too. I was kind of frustrated. Like, what are you laughing about? This game is within hand, and you're laughing in the silence. Maybe this is an old man on me, I know. But, it's frustrating sometimes when you want to see that competitive fire, and, but Tua was under control the whole game. They found a way to rally the troops. You're going to hear during the next segment how he speaks about what they talk in the huddle, what they talk about. And Tua found a way to carry the team on his back. So many criticisms about Tua, but Tua found a way to carry this team to a win.
It's part of that transition, that maturation that you really want to see in a quarterback. Sometimes it never happens at all. Sometimes it happens much more quickly. They just have it in them. Tua has always been a leader. I just don't think I think that the first couple of years in the league, Brian Flores really took a lot of who he was at his core in terms of a leader, what we heard that he was at Alabama. And it's taken him a while to have that built up in him. I mean, we're in year 3 with Coach McDaniel, and this is really the first time we're really starting to see that. But, I think he's coming in more of his own, but it's great to see him do that. The only shout out I'll give right now, because I was the first in terms of freezing cold takes. I was so critical this offseason going into it in August and in early September of the offensive line and what they did. what was the rank of the defense, Sammy? What was the Jets third?
Third, yes.
Okay, third ranked defense. That was the most time and most progressions I've seen Tua go through in a single game. So I'll leave it at that. Shout out to the offensive line for giving him time to go back there and survey and find the open wide receivers.
I can only imagine what Tua would do if he had an offensive line that would protect him enough to have enough time to throw. That would be a premium item for Tua. Well, without further ado, let's welcome our Things TV crew of Shari Haddon and Mr. Perfect Armstrong and our special guest, Jake Mendel for Another Dolphins Podcast. Welcome back, Jake.
Welcome back, Jake.
Everyone. It's great to see you all. I'm happy to be here with you guys. It's like I'm part of the Avengers.
Absolutely. Jake, we were being so frustrated during the season of the Dolphins, the up and down during the season, the Tua getting hurt. But Tua, when I was talking to Steve before, Tua found a way to carry the team on his back. What are your thoughts about the game against the Jets on Sunday?
It was so impressive when you consider the fact that the rushing attack was averaging barely over 2 yards per carry. I thought that it was impressive that the Dolphins were able to get Tua in a spot where he was comfortable. He wasn't sacked once, where he was able to sit back in the pocket and really diagnose each and every play that was happening in front of him. That all starts with the offensive line. But, Sammy, I love the point you made about there was a little too much chuckling on the sidelines. It just seems like there's times where this team loves to have fun. And it seems like maybe on the top of their list is having fun. Maybe third or fourth is the being afraid to lose might be how you want to prioritize those things.
A sense of urgency, yes.
That beautifully put. But sorry to reel it back into Tua here. It's just so impressive to see his ability to sweep other issues on this team under the rug time and time again. And when you're paying a quarterback $50-60 million, that is priority number one. Somebody who can fill in for other mistakes throughout your roster. And it's safe to say there are so many mistakes on this Miami Dolphins roster, and Tua's done a great job of really sweeping them under the rug.
Absolutely. During the Packers game, I said that Tua played well enough, but not well enough for a team to carry a team. Basically, last week, he played well enough and found a way to carry a team. That was a huge difference, Jake.
Spot on. That was the complete difference between the Packers and the Jets game. And it's one thing when you start the game, you're down 14-0. I think it just kind of changes the atmosphere too.
Absolutely.
Well, I think you have to say that to Jake's point,
Please.
You weren't able to join us last week, but the Packers are such a complete team that, and that's, I really think that they're the opposite of what the Jets are. We just found a way to make them appear more like a complete team than they really are, because they've been exposed so many other times, but like many other division opponents, that's just the way it works. But I don't know if we were capable of turning the Packers game into a complete game like that.
It's a great point. And two, it's frustrating when you consider, say, Tua wasn't sacked. It's kind of like they just put the Jets just put their best pass rusher on C.J. Mosley on injured reserve. You could tell the impact that had on the game. What about the impact of not having Sauce Gardner? That was one I don't think we necessarily saw right away. I think Tyreek and Waddle both had big games, but it was just really interesting to see how this offense. Great performance. You finished with 32 points, but it did feel very awkward at times for this unit as a whole, which was a little confusing.
Absolutely. Shari, that's the kind of game we were expecting for Tua, like I was talking to the guys. Tua found a way to carry the team. If he didn't do that, the Dolphins do not win this game, in my opinion. What are your thoughts about the Jets game?
Absolutely, for sure. Without Tua, it's over, game over. For a lot of reasons on a lot of days. I do disagree a little with the laughing. My view may not be a popular view, and it may not sit well with the people here. But if I'm having
Get off my lawn, Shari! Get off my lawn!
I'm out. I'm having a crappy day at work, or I've had a string of crappy days at work, and I find something that amuses me and I laugh for 30 seconds. It doesn't mean that I want my job to fail. It just means that in that moment, something amused me. I know they should be serious, and I believe that they are. I don't think that because you smack a guy on the back of the helmet and laugh as you walk off, especially in a game that we weren't out of. We weren't getting our butts handed to us. We weren't being wiped up and down the field. It wasn't ugly. It wasn't disgusting. These guys off the field are friends. We may not like it. I certainly don't like it. I can't expect them to be game face for 60 football minutes without having a single emotion outside of that. I just don't think that that's possible. That's my opinion on that. The defense is a huge concern for me. We can talk about Tua and everything else. We all know, everybody in this podcast right now, none of us are online bashing Tua. And there's a reason, because he's earned the respect of carrying this team on his back. I saw him slide for real, for real, not like kind of think about it after. So he is finally following through with the thought process he had earlier, which said, what do I have to do for this team? I have to be available. And that's how he keeps himself available. I am frightened and very upset and wondering what's going to happen going forward with the defense. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that later. We shouldn't be making a Jets team that has 3 wins look like that. I do know historically division opponents play each other differently than they do everyone else, but I don't want to make a 3-win Jets team look good. I don't want to make a 2 or 3-win Pats team look good. I want to make them look as horrific as they are. So we have to find a way to do that, because if I'm not confident in beating the crap out of the Jets, I don't know how confident I am. We can't keep asking Tua to score 30 or more points to win a game and expect that that's going to continue. Matt,
Absolutely.
what do you think?
I think that if we're the Avengers, Steve is clearly Captain America.
Absolutely.
Steve
goes
Rogers, I'll
without-
take that.
That goes
Heck
without
yeah.
saying.
I thought
Have you
about that.
seen that ass? That's America's ass.
Yeah.
And then Shari is clearly the Scarlett Johansson character.
Okay.
Black
Widow. I would have taken the Scarlet Witch too.
Oh, very good. You can have either one of them. I just want to know who I would be. Steve, who would I be if we were the Avengers?
Don't put me in that position. Okay. Don't put me in that position, Matt.
So,
Now you have to.
I know what you should say, and I know what you're gonna say.
I can't.
say
Okay. Matt, I love you. You know that.
I know what's coming. We all know what's coming.
You're happy.
Yes, I knew that was coming. Because you're happy.
No,
all the time.
I was gonna say you're Thor from
the other one, yes.
from Endgame. So you're Thor from Endgame.
Both things are what I was thinking. So yay, we're tracking.
Okay, all right.
Clearly not the subject.
You can see Jake's face at this show is going off the rails over here. Good day, everybody.
Clearly not the subject, but I'm going to share this with you because I am. So my son, he's 18 now. He's going to be 19 in May, but he and I have watched the Avengers since the Avengers came out. My son's favorite character was Iron Man, and he did not know this, but when I was a kid, Iron Man was my favorite too. And then as we've gone through the Marvel universe, Thor has become my favorite. And my son told me recently, you would be Thor, Dad. You would absolutely be Thor. And so I'm sitting here like, way to go, Steve. That's awesome. So
We're tracking, man. It's because you're worthy enough to lift the hammer. That's why.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So to get back on point, because you guys let me run away with this thing, I'm going to bring us back on track here. I want to make sure everybody understands the New York Jets are the worst professional sports franchise on the planet. And I'm not just talking about in the United States. I'm talking about worldwide. I would struggle to tell you 5 other professional teams in the world, and the Jets are worse than they are. I remember Trent Dilfer saying about Mark Sanchez, when you watch him throw, you're looking into the soul of a quarterback. And there's not one rational New York Jet fan that would say they would take Mark Sanchez over Tua. Not one. I said rational. I don't know if there's many of them. But Tua did something that no one not named Dan Marino has ever done, and that's he threw back-to-back 300-plus yard games. Is it back-to-back? It's 3, right?
3.
Yes.
Back-to-back. Like, I sat there dumbfounded when I read that. And think about that. It's the NFL. It's the no-hands league. Don't touch them. It's a penalty. It's a 15-yard penalty, right? It's a quarterback's league now. And Marino was doing this in the 80s and 90s, and Tua did it for the first time since Dan did. Three consecutive games, over 300 yards. Anybody else want to question whether he's number one? Talk to a tree, because I'm not going to listen to you.
Touch grass.
Touch grass.
He does wear jersey number 1.
Yes.
He did.
Hey, coincidence.
I think
Speaking
not.
of, I just want to tell you how much I'm very happy that Jake is with us. Jake is full of statistics, and they always come at the most opportune time. Like, he'll throw something out and you're like, that's perfect. Thank you. So Jake,
Like,
welcome back to the show. Listen, it was the Jets, and if they had lost, I might not be here right now. Like, I might have called right? Because I talk a lot of trash about that awful, awful club. But I will tell you that it's a division game. It's a rivalry game. There's a very, very old, fading future Hall of Famer on the other side. He first time since 2021, he went for over 300. Whatever. They won. That's all I care about. We can dissect the defense. We can dissect the fact that Jason Sanders hit a 52-yarder when
Missed
he
an extra
most
point.
definitely needed it. I know he missed the extra point, but he hit the one that mattered the most,
Absolutely.
right? How many times in our lives have we seen the Dolphins drive? They've got to get this. They've got to win, right? Remember, on Sunday, if they kick a field goal, the Jets get the ball back, right? That's the rules. So Sunday, they needed the touchdown to win. And how many times over the years have we seen the Dolphins fail to do what they needed to do to win? I'm not talking about sending it to overtime or continuing overtime. I'm talking about to win. And Tua took him all the way down. He hit Jonnu. Like, that pass gets deflected. That pass gets intercepted in years past. It was cathartic to me to see them do that. The very first drive, Steve, you're absolutely right. Who are these guys? This is Madden on rookie level. They did everything right. The wheels came off a little bit. The Jets realized that they are getting paid and that they should represent. And now we've got a ball game. The bottom line is we won by putting a knife in the heart with a touchdown, not sitting there going back and forth in overtime. I'm good with the end result of this past Sunday.
I think we were a lot. Sorry, go ahead, Shari.
I just wanted to say, when we were all sitting, we had a house full, we were watching, we all said, my gosh, if we can start overtime with a drive like we started this game, it's going to be over. And we got it. And that's another thing we don't often get, is when we say, my gosh, this is what we need to do. And then we watch the Dolphins do it. It's such a good feeling. It's a wonderful, it's a hopeful feeling, because you say, all right, they did it and they did it again, and we can string this together. And it was beautiful to see that in overtime. It really was. And even our son, who's a new Dolphins fan, he's 15, and he said he's liked the Dolphins for years, but he jumped up on his feet on the couch and screamed touchdown before the rest of us did. It was glorious.
It was in the air. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I mean, to the point of him doing it 2 drives back to back, we were actually, I would say it's a combination of 2 things. One, a little bit nervous Tua on that throw to Tyreek, and Tyreek actually got rubbed off of his timing on that route, because right before we ended up having to kick it, Tyreek went on about a 15-yard in a cross route, and he missed it by about probably a half step for Tyreek's speed. Mm-hmm. That would have gone house, and that would have put it away before they even needed to go to overtime. But Jason Sanders seriously hit the 57-yarder and then hit a 52-yarder. I don't even want to dwell on the fact that he missed the extra point. Unfortunate, but when we really truly needed him in that situation, he came through, and huge props to him.
Absolutely. Jake, we criticize so much the special teams of the Dolphins, but that's a great point by Steve. So the special teams were one of the huge reasons why the Dolphins won that game. The field goals, the kick returns.
The kick return, for sure.
That was key for sure.
Yeah, the Dolphins really leaned into that stuff, and shout out Malik Washington, especially being able to bounce back after that fumble. And sorry to jump in a circle here, but Shari, I thought you brought out some great points about celebrating. I am all for celebrating, The only thing, and I wanted to get all your guys' thoughts because we all have the scars. We all have the 20 years of no playoff wins. The Dolphins scored a touchdown on their opening drive, and they did not score another touchdown until the start of the fourth quarter. If I told you that without knowing the score of the game, I'd be a little queasy. And when you consider there were a couple drives there, you get inside the 5-yard line. I think they kicked one field goal on 4th and 1, another one on 4th and goal from like the 3. There were some opportunities there where when your season's on the line, and Steve, I cannot help but think about you, just thinking about how this next week would have been if we had to listen about not only kicking field goals on those drives, but losing the game. That's where I got a little queasy with the laughing in that scenario, just because I was dreading that so much. And Tua, Sanders with the 57-yarder, Sanders winning AFC Special Teams Player of the Month last month, deserves so much credit where we get to sweep all that under the rug and never, ever talk about it ever again. This game was never in doubt, and the Jets stink.
I'm happy to say that I've scrubbed a lot of social media from what I'm doing, and especially during the games. I really didn't even register that there was a big problem about people laughing on the sidelines. But there is a very, very fine line in professional sports leagues in general, but as we see it in NFL, between them being happy on the sidelines or them fighting and at each other's throats on the sidelines. Yeah. And we're seeing a team, the Philadelphia Eagles just won their 7th in a row, and they've got their top wide receiver and their franchise quarterback basically just calling for the other one to get kicked off the team right now because they have a personal feud. There is a very fine line between that. So absolutely, they end up losing that to a team that has performed as poorly as the Jets. It's a different conversation right now. More often than not, I don't have a problem with that. With them.
No, I agree.
And keep in mind in this game, too, when you're looking at it as a whole, we punted one time and we didn't turn the ball over. So we weren't playing
3 times.
dirty football. We weren't playing careless football. We were protecting the football. Yes, we stalled and we had to kick field goals, but we weren't turning it over. We weren't punting. Overall, it wasn't such a wretched thing that they needed to be stoic the whole time.
Yeah, I
We
just
punted
thought
3 times.
Left a couple left some meat on the bone at times, and a couple head scratching plays. Like, do we have to do a no look to Jonnu Smith on 2nd and 10 when we're some things like that? That's kind of where like this is one of those pendulum games where like I'm not blaming a single person or a coach for this. I think it's an overall operation thing. This was such an interesting pendulum game though because you get to end up being happy, but man, there were some things where you're just like, hey, like this was awesome, but then here's on the entire opposite side of it.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, let's go to our future segment and how the Dolphins find a way to stay alive.
I probably wouldn't want to share some of the things we were saying, just to get everybody going. But just know we were getting after everyone inside the huddle. To make sure that you're blocking the way you need to block, you're running the routes where you need to be in the right spots, just all of that. And I thought it was super cool that on the 4th down, you got to find your best player, give it to your best player, and that's what happened. Then we came back to our next best player on a 2-point drive. So that's what happened.
I think it's important to really acknowledge the absolute non-negotiable effort and strain that we see from this Dolphins team. I think the crowd played a big part, and it was important to our guys. We've had a rough season. We have a lot of people paying a lot of money to come see us play, and Hard Rock is special to us. So all of those things were really cool, and I was just really happy with what the team did and how they approached the week. Allowed them to have an opportunity to have a really cool football moment together today.
He's been playing lights out, man. He's been a great leader for this team, not only on offense but also for defense, getting those guys going, man. And we just gotta follow him, man. Like follow his standard. because the standard is the standard, and he's been playing at a high level, and guys around him just got to match it, and I feel like we've been doing that, but it's got to be every play, though. That mindset got to be every play. It just can't be, whenever you're getting the ball or whenever it's time for you to, be like the star or whatever, but it's got to be every play. So.
We'll see the Dolphins keeping their playoff hopes alive with just 4 games remaining in the season. After the crucial win against the New York Jets, the Dolphins improved their record to 6-7, placing them in the thick of the AFC wildcard race, despite facing tough competition ahead, including matchups against the Houston Texans and San Francisco 49ers. The Dolphins seem to be determined to fight for a postseason berth. Their resilience and ability to bounce back from setbacks will be key factors in their pursuit of a playoff spot. Steve, what can I tell you? The Dolphins found a way to win, find a way to stay alive. Our hopes were not huge on the Packers game. We were realistic. We know they were a tough game. We were expecting to win this game huge, and we found a way to win it in the squeaker in overtime. Next week, probably the toughest task of the whole remaining schedule against the Houston Texans, but the Texans has not been playing up to par compared to last season. So they found a way to stay alive. So what are your thoughts on what going forward for the Dolphins in the playoff hunt, Steve?
Well, I'm always happy to see Jake on the show here with us. It doesn't happen enough. But Jake, I've been stealing from you for so many episodes in a row now. So you're here to say that the Dolphins are in perpetual existence of being in the hunt.
Oh, yeah.
And even like last year when we held it by the horns and we were in control of that division championship, we still found a way to just keep ourselves in the hunt of what we're doing. So resilience, you know what? I don't necessarily know if it's resilience. It's just in years past, we've seen teams like this in those situations. As Shari was saying, as Matt was saying, we've seen the teams in the past, the Dolphins, have that opportunity. And I admit in the back of my head, I'm sitting here thinking, we've got an opportunity to go down and kick a field goal to tie this game. And I'm just saying, I won't be surprised if Tua throws an interception here because we've seen that happen in the past. He rushes something, he tries to squeeze it into something that it just doesn't exist there. We don't have the luxury of a Tyreek Hill and a Jalen Waddle out there to be on those precise routes. And Tua throws it to a spot, and instead of our wide receiver, it's one of the defensive backs out there to catch it. I don't know if it's necessarily resilience, but they found a way to get all 3 phases of the game not at exactly the same time doing what they needed to do until the very end. Even Jake Bailey, seriously, 3 punts, averaging almost 50 yards, and one of those was a touchback, which negates 20 yards of that. He had a couple really key punts with enough hang time, and on the 2 that weren't touchbacks, our coverage units were down there to trap them inside the 20. So in terms of resilience, I don't know. They just found it in themselves to not give up when it's these close types of games, which is really what you have to have. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, probably more people saying that it's a fraudulent type thing than anything, but the Chiefs being 11-1 with the victories that they've had, the bottom line is they're 11-1. The bottom line is right now Miami is 6-7 because of what they were able to do at the end of the game there, and they're going to have to rely upon it because injuries are going to continue to happen, but we also have the benefit of hoping that we're going to get Bradley Chubb back. Maybe we can rest Teron Armstead a little bit so he can stay healthy, and if we're able to win out, if the other teams out there that are ahead of us, the Colts, the Broncos, and the Chargers in terms of the wild card chase, maybe they end up losing some games. Maybe they cannibalize themselves while going against each other. Whatever it takes, we just have to find a way to stay in that type of situation.
I agree. I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead, Shari. Sorry.
Nobody wanted to talk.
I left a
over
lot
the
of
other.
silence there.
I know, right? We're just like, you've said it all, Steve. We're good. Let's go move on to the next segment. No, staying alive. Yes, and I am concerned. I know that, as you said, we were firing on all cylinders, just not at the same time. If we're going to stay alive, we're going to have to find a way to do that because we can't always cover for the segment of our team that's lagging. You're not always going to be able to carry when your DBs aren't covering. You're not always going to be able to carry your lack of a run game. Tua was very lucky Okay, I'm sorry, Matt. He wasn't very lucky. Tua's line gave him the time that he needed in this game to pick apart the defense, which was great. We did not run the way I'd like to see us run. Also, on a side note, I'm fairly certain if the Bills were to lose out, they would also have 7 losses this year. Is that correct? Pretty close. I mean, it's 7 or more. So, I mean, they could lose out just as we could win out. Why is one more likely than the other? When you're a Dolphins fan, you don't think it is, right? You have to be optimistic. I don't roll your eyes at me, Jake. I see it.
I'm
don't
just thinking about Josh Allen scoring 6 touchdowns. Like I just think about that, and
He's not listening.
put my
Okay,
hands
that's
up.
the equivalent of cursing on this show when you say my name. So please don't say it again or 2 more times because he might show up, which would make me have to do something bad. But no, is that likely? No. But there's a lot of people saying it's not likely we're going to win out either. So I want to be on the optimistic side, but I need to see all cylinders at the same time, a cohesive unit. I don't want to have to see us cover for other deficiencies. I want to see us, because if we aren't gelling by 4 more games, which blows my mind, like you wouldn't believe when you said 4 more games, and I knew it, but it didn't sink in. There's 4 more games. That's crazy. If we aren't firing on all cylinders in 4 more games, even if we find a way to win them all, it's going to be one and done like we've been used to lately.
Well, I think the firing on all cylinders thing, Shari, to that point is we have 2 of our units doing extremely well. It's that defense. And Jake, you're a stat guy. I mean, seriously, the amount of missed tackles,
Insane.
that is really what we have right now that killed us in Green Bay. And going into Houston, we don't have that luxury, right?
That's Nico Collins. Sounds like such a tough matchup, and it becomes even harder when you cannot tackle him. He's a physical. I mean, if you want to compare him to anyone in Dolphins history, maybe a Brandon Marshall, who's a bit faster than that. So I'm not worried about someone like Jalen Ramsey. Garrett Wilson had a pretty big day, but what we saw there is just a very good wide receiver, and then we also saw Jalen Ramsey half an inch away from an interception himself, so he almost got his back as well. But man, it's so concerning because Calais Campbell has been awesome. I don't want this. Don't hear what I'm not saying here. He's 38 years old, and we're playing football in December. He's not going to be the same player. Whatever positives we get from Jordan Poyer, whatever positives you want to try to find, they're going to be even fewer as we get into December. Those are the weaknesses when you draft someone like Channing Tindall, who doesn't see the field. When you draft someone like Cam Smith, which, the injuries suck, and I understand that's not his fault, but when you even look back to last year and you had Ethan Bonner out there playing cornerback, those are some of the biggest concerns. And I mean, you flip the coin, Teron Armstead, you feel so much for someone like that who you can just tell he works his tail off play after play. And on both sides, 2 guys on the verge of retiring, Kendall Lamb and Teron Armstead, again, not trying to hate, but you mentioned injuries are going to keep happening. You wonder, what would adding a fresh, healthy, 6'7" behemoth like Patrick Paul to opposing defenses that are also dealing with injuries, that to me sounds like a game changer in Cleveland near the end of the season to me.
Sorry, yeah, definitely. Patrick Paul he stepped in. I think maybe you had posted some videos, but I saw a couple things just pointing out he really did a great job of holding his own. And you're not always going to have that. You don't know where other pieces might fall down. Isaiah Wynn, we have hopes that maybe he's going to make it back. I think but in those situations, because Jake, you're right. Every team is in December. Every team is facing that same amount of fatigue. It's who can last longer, who can do better, who can scheme it a little bit differently. And I've been deservedly, but overly critical of Julian Hill. And I saw somebody post up a video of him standing up one of the top pass rushers in the league, one-on-one. He didn't have a head start. He was down in a 3-point stance and stood up one-on-one and held back one of the best pass rushers in the league from the Jets. And think about it, 37 sacks that the Jets have this year. What do we have, 22? 37 sacks, number 3 defense in the league, and they weren't able to get to a once. That's a huge performance out of an offensive line that had a lot of questions, but you're right. Teron lasted 5 plays, 6 plays, not very long, and I'll give him credit again. He's over what I gave him. I thought he'd give us maybe 10 games at most this year. He made it to the 13th. So, and hopefully he's able to come back, but having that insurance policy is really big. I mean, I don't know, Matt, what do you think are the keys to Miami staying alive here?
bubble gum and Scotch tape, man. This time of the year, you're holding on for dear life, and you still have 2 cold weather games to go.
At least,
Yeah,
right? At least.
at least, right?
There's the attitude. I like it.
Cleveland and the Jets. Look, it's business at this point. I use the analogy regularly at work with, what you're doing. You don't need to stop and ask anybody, how do I do this? When this is your job, whatever position it is, whether we're talking sports or whether we're talking business, in the professional civilian world. At this point of the game, you know what you're doing, so it's time for you to go out there and perform. And what a phenomenal opportunity for Patrick Paul to go out there. He didn't go out there against a substandard defensive line. I understand the Jets have some injury issues, but that's still probably, despite my earlier rant, that's a defensive line that I really wouldn't want to go up against. Cold off the bench. Oh, crap. The man is out. He's probably not coming back in. Here we go, right? And he went out there and did his job. He did his job. So what is it going to take? It's going to take that buy-in. It appears that they have it. I could care less about the laughing on the sideline. They're playing a game for a lot of money. If they're laughing and we just lost on a last-second field goal, I'm probably torched, right? I'm probably pretty angry at that. But at the same time, I don't care if they're laughing. The pressure that you have to go out there and perform on to keep the franchise healthy, to keep him clean, not get him broken in half, that's pressure right there, man. In this world, in this envelope of fictional, non-reality type world, they just have to buy into each other. The challenges that the defense is experiencing, I don't know that I'm smart enough to be able to say it's this or it's that, but I do want to bring to light these few things before I let go. This center that we have, Brewer, right?
Yep.
That dude's an all-pro. I said it today. December 10th, let's see how it shakes out. I think that guy's an all-pro.
He's fighting above his weight class, that's for sure.
With that goes without saying. That dude's easily
Literally.
he could have started on the 72 Dolphins line. Like, there's nothing to that guy. Armstead, kind of devastated for him. I never said it on the show, but every game that went by that he played, and he was going to play the next week, to me, that was a win every single week. I don't know. I haven't seen what the prognosis is for him, but it didn't look good. Eichenberg. People can say whatever they want about Liam Eichenberg, man. I would get into a street fight with him. I see. Jake, I did peruse your little article there. He's got a nasty streak about him, and I'm not saying that I am. But
Jake or Liam?
Liam.
Jake or Liam? Oh, no, I'm kidding.
He hasn't shown it to us.
Jake's scrappy.
Yeah.
Liam is the guy that I would absolutely want if I was out there raising hell in a college town. That kind of brawler that you really hope has your back. And the last thing I want to say about the offensive line is, where's the haters? Where are they? I get that they were running for 2.1 a down for their running, and I'm being somewhat facetious, but number one's been clean for 3 consecutive weeks, no interceptions, and it's a team effort. Everybody, it's a team effort. And this is the last thing I want to say. Shari just said she's optimistic, and if she can say it in that household, everybody can say it.
No, Matt, you hit the nail on the head. It is a team effort. Well, yes, you hit the nail on the head with that. It takes a lot to live in this household. I am a ton to deal with, seriously. She's a saint. But in all seriousness, it takes a team effort. And I wrote down some names as we were going through this stuff. Jason Sanders, Jalen Waddle, Julian Hill, Liam Eichenberg, Teron Armstead. I have been critical. It's my nature. But I have been critical, along with many others out there over the past 10 games, 11 games, of their performances. They have all found a way to step up, and that's what we really need to do. Is we need to see them. We need to see Julian Hill stay this one that we saw this week. We need to see Liam Eichenberg continue to be the consistent, available offensive lineman that he is. We need to see those pieces continue to step up while we're adding in the other pieces. Alec Ingold, he's good. He's great. He's been missing something. We need to see him step up into the Alec Ingold that we know him to be. Defensively, we just need to, for some way for them to find that identity that they had earlier on in the season and bring us back into being able to hold teams like the Houston Texans to a low number. So we're not expected to put up 30 plus just so we can hope that we can win the game.
You mentioning I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, Jake, how many interceptions does this Dolphins defense have? I can think of maybe 2.
Oh, that's tough.
7.
How many are cornerbacks?
1.
Emmanuel Ogbah has one. I know Zach Sealer has one.
Sealer?
Yeah, it's really not many.
Drake May has one for the Chargers. Yeah. I still wonder why they didn't cut Poyer. Why didn't they cut Poyer and they cut Drake May? I know Matt probably can tell you why. Right, Matt?
Rachel Bush is whatever her name is.
So to answer your question, 3 were cornerbacks. Kohu has 1, Ramsey has 2. The rest are by bigger, beefier guys.
Yeah.
So you were talking about missing pieces. And that I was thinking during this segment also about Stayin Alive. I was thinking about Chubb. And I have a question that I want to pose to the group for quick answers. I don't need to take up a bunch of time in this, but what are your thoughts on, I saw for the first time since he's been injured, he was questionable this week, which lit up my soul. I was like, yes, there's a so you're saying there's a chance. What are the chances? I don't know that he's ready to come back this weekend. So we win again. Do the Dolphins push him to come back? We lose again. At that point, does he just sit the rest of the season, get 100%, and is good to go for the fall, summer? What are your thoughts on that? Because I don't know how ready questionable is, but I also don't want to force him in, have him get hurt if we could use him down the stretch.
Jake, I mean, just to be clear, and I want you to answer this and then you go, please. He has been elevated from the IR, correct? So he counted against one of our ones, and he's here for the...
He's in the 21-day window right now.
Both him and Cameron Good are in the 21-day window, so they're about as close as being activated without actually being activated. That's why they're listed there as questionable. This will be really interesting to see how this develops because there's so many moving parts with someone like Bradley Chubb and how you go about this. What I thought was so interesting is Mike McDaniel, when he mentioned that these guys were getting their 21-day practice window was opened, he kind of mentioned that being sort of like a celebration, like a motivational moment for the team. Because all throughout the summer, you see them rehabbing. You go away on the bye week, they're still there rehabbing. And they're just consistently putting that work in. And the fact that McDaniel gave the nod that, hey, opening this window should be seen as like a congratulations to them. They put in the effort, made it kind of seem like that was a big accomplishment where you do wonder how many more hurdles are necessary for them to come back. Because outside of saying it's great to see him back, McDaniel's always been one to say no timelines. We've heard gripes from players in the past wanting to be out there. So you do wonder how the pendulum may swing if they win or lose another game. But I mean, if he plays this week, I'd say maybe like a 30% chance, but that could turn on Wednesday when Mike McDaniel just walks out and says, all right, yep, they'll both be on the field full, no questions asked. That's just kind of the way he works. It sucks.
Yes.
But here's where I'm coming. What I think in response to that, Ogba is, and I've been a huge cheerleader of his, even when he was overpaid. My opinion, I think he was overpaid and underutilized.
Yep.
Ogba second on the team in sacks, which isn't a huge amount, but he's second on the team in sacks right now, and he has been consistently reliable from that position. So I don't think we have a dire need against tough teams, and we'll talk about the Texans here in just a moment. But it really depends. If they're able to find a way to tackle all of a sudden again, then maybe they won't need him. It won't hurt to have a Bradley Chubb.
But Chubb's a leader. I mean, he's someone that goes out there and is motivational, and I mean, isn't he someone who? It was a loss when he left because that presence is something that team needs.
I think we just need to, let's peel back the layers here, Shari. Bradley Chubb. He's easy on the eyes. So come on.
You said it, not me.
No, you said, you should have heard the shriek across the room the other day when she saw the injury report. Oh my God, she saw his name. Yep.
Listen, Steve, listen. Is it as pretty on the eyes as seeing Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old, break tackles from Dolphins defenders? Because that's what was happening on Sunday.
Yes.
I don't
He's
think
talking about something completely different. He's talking about something.
No. That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
I hear it. No. I want him on the field. I don't want missed tackles. I definitely don't want Rodgers breaking a freaking tackle. The guy, no.
Hey, I mentioned Bradley Chubb once in the last 6 weeks. I've mentioned Taylor Swift 80 times in the last week for you. So let's not.
I appreciate it.
You tackle?
Touche.
If she could, he'd give her a try. He'd let her try to tackle.
Wonder if there's like open listing for a tackling dummy for that.
Oh my God. All right. Can we move on now? Let's talk about Texans, Sammy.
Come on, Thor.
Texans, Sammy.
Bradley Chubb could walk into my house right now. I wouldn't even know who he was. Like, I have no idea what the guy looks like. And
if he walks into your house, will you call me, please?
I'd probably call the cops first, but yeah.
See how quick the Scarlet Witch could make it down to your hometown there, buddy.
We just spent 5 minutes talking about whether whatever. Can we edit this and delete that part of the show?
This is going to the rest of the year and the end of the season. So
no, Matt, go ahead.
So Bradley Chubb comes back. Let's say he comes back this weekend. That's a plus. I want to take you back in time. I'm for. I can take you back in time, swing my hammer around, all of that. Go back in time to a year ago, maybe 12 months and 2 weeks ago. We were where we wanted to be, and then our wheels fell off. And the wheels fell off because of those injuries. I would much rather have him coming back now. Let's find out if he can play. Who even knows? He may have been sitting on a couch eating chocolate sundaes for the last 12 months, for all I know. And if he can play, come on back. One other thing, this is the pros. He will play in that last game, whether it matters or not, because he gets paid a salary commensurate with his role in the NFL. They're going to pay him. He's going to play. They won't shut him down because they're out, because they lost, whatever. He'll play. So I would much rather them find out if he can play and then turn him loose for these last 4 games, because I don't want them talking about, and when they were typing it, they were laughing, the Dolphins have 3 guys who were sitting on a couch on Tuesday. I don't want that, right? We got Ogba, knock on wood. Steve, I am totally with you. He is one of my all-time favorite guys just because I felt like leave him alone. Let him go out there and do his freaking job. You get Chubb back, get Good back maybe. I'd much rather have it be in that way in our favor than where we were a year ago trying to hold it together.
I agree.
Well, Jake, after all
Sammy,
this
can you
crazy,
get control of this again now, please?
Jake, after all this craziness, I'm pretty sure you're gonna see house in a whole different light after all this craziness this week. But before we say goodbye to Jake, I want to wrap it up here. I don't know if it's still alive. Jake, what are your thoughts? How big of a chance are you giving the Dolphins to stay alive during the last 3 or 4 games? To give it no minimum high chance.
It's really going to be interesting how Anthony Weavers shoots his shots, because I think with a limited pass rush, you're going to only have so many bullets in your gun. And I think they did a great job where there was a stretch where Aaron Rodgers and that Jets offense was walking down the field, scoring on every drive up until the fourth quarter. Then he was able to pull the trigger and get the stops he needs. So this is a very strong Houston Texans team. But it's also one that has, kind of like the Dolphins, some underlying weaknesses that can really be broken into. So I'll be interested to see. Joe Mixon, I believe, has always been a running back that's been a little annoying for the Dolphins. So will be again on the linebacker group if they can bring him down, because if you can make it a one-dimensional game with CJ Stroud, you have Jalen Ramsey against Nico Collins. Pray to God Tank Dell doesn't hit one deep. It's all up to Weaver. I think it's a very tough task. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's these obvious decisions he has, but I think if he can play his cards right, he can have a really impressive stretch here that can go a long way. And you talk about complementary football, add him getting a couple stops, a couple turnovers with this Dolphins offense that's averaging nearly 30 points a game, to 15 touchdowns, 1 interception in the 7 games since he's returned. You're going to be feeling pretty good entering that home stretch with whoever you got to face, no matter the temperature.
Absolutely. Well, Jay, we appreciate you. You're a regular on the show. We're a friend of the show. We really appreciate you. Where can I find you on social media and both platforms, Jake?
Yeah, J Mendel 31, and then also just Google Another Dolphins Podcast. You can find Josh and I yelling about something or other on that too. But guys, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. You guys make me feel like an MVP.
Here,
so I appreciate
it.
That's awesome.
Absolutely, much appreciated. Hopefully, we'll see you before the season and for the Festival Awards and during the off season too. So thank you for everything, Jake.
Yes, absolutely. Take care.
Happy holidays for you and your family.
Yeah, you too.
Well, without further ado, let's go to the Dolphins now. Go deep into the heart of Texas.
Stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas.
Well, let's go to how they compare us every week. The Dolphins have right now the 19th total offense. The Texans not so much better. Only have 4 more yards at number 18th. The Dolphins, a suspicious ranking of 11th on total. Of 9th in defense, and the Texans at number 5. For the weather, I don't think the Texans are going to open the roof, but it's a fair weather for the city, so the Dolphins are going to feel right at home going to Texas. Steve, the Dolphins have a chance, though. The Texans have not been playing up to the par, or at least to the expectations. They're probably as frustrated with their season as the Dolphins are, so the Dolphins might have a chance to win on Sunday. I saw Pete Prisco, who's a non-Dolphin hater, picked the Dolphins to win this week, so I'm kind of surprised. Maybe the Dolphins have a chance, Steve.
I think the Dolphins definitely have a chance. In my opinion, it is going to solely rely upon what Jake said there. It's making them one-dimensional on offense. Joe Mixon is not Saquon Barkley this year. He's not, Henry, but we've seen him have the resiliency and the ability to really put a lot of hurt on some teams. And he's a very tough running back. He reminds me a lot of Josh Jacobs, and look what he did to us up in Green Bay. Mm-hmm. We have to find a way to wrap up. We can't have these consistent physical and mental breakdowns on defense that are giving them the ability to extend plays. So CJ Stroud, he's had a sophomore slump this year, and really we need to capitalize on that. If I saw it correctly, they've had an excessive amount of sacks given up this year. But then I look at those types of stats and I'm like, the Dolphins oftentimes have a way to flip those around and make it seem like it's the upside down and things just aren't really what they seem. So hopefully we can put that pressure on them and we can make them a little bit more one-dimensional. And if we do that, I believe that Tua has the ability to keep it going in terms of what he's been doing since he came back from his injury. And it's really just going to rely upon the defense stepping up where they've lagged.
Absolutely. Matt, the Dolphins for sure, it seems like they have a chance on Sunday at the Texans.
Dolphins by 17.
Oh wow!
I'm back. Sorry, I lost my feed, but I'm back now. Yay! Sorry,
Shari, what are your thoughts on the Texans? The Dolphins might have a chance on actually winning on Sunday.
when you put up the stats, I noticed on paper we seem so competitive, so alike, and it looks like we match up well in almost every area. There doesn't seem to be a glaring difference. And even against the Jets, with them being the third ranked defense, we still put up a ton of points on them. So I'm confident, I'm optimistic, but I'm concerned because yes, Weaver, like Jake said, Weaver has the opportunity to find what he needs to do to put together the scheme to make them one-dimensional. But isn't that every game we say they just have to find the answer? And the question is, how do we stop them? So every game it's finding the answer, and each time it's going to be a little different. So I want to see Weaver find the answer faster this week because I feel like against the Jets, I don't want it to be the fourth quarter when we go, okay, now we figured them out, because I feel like we should have a little more of the figuring out done when the game starts. So keeping them one-dimensional, I agree. I want to see the defense really take control of the game early so that what Tua is doing is providing gravy rather than keeping us in it. I want to see us thrive, and the only way that happens is for the defense to step up early.
Absolutely. So, Steve, the Dolphins might have a chance of that. They can kind of remind me of that 2 years ago that the game against the Detroit Lions. Don't game, the elements are out the window, so the Dolphins, might rely on that speed on Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, so the Dolphins might have a chance to actually win.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I wanted to take a look because a friend messaged me as we were sitting here talking. He doesn't even know we're on the podcast, and his question to me is, why in the world is Houston getting such an advantage with the betting odds? And I looked, it's only a 3-point spread, which is traditionally what they're going to give home teams. But to your point, you played those types of teams, and I've watched some Houston on TV, haven't watched a ton of them, but Houston fans are into it. They have something to cheer for. They have a division-leading team right now. I think that is going to be a challenge for Tua in this offense again, just as it was in Green Bay, outside in the elements on Thanksgiving night, where they had a tough time getting to the line of scrimmage. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a setback for what we need. We need Coach McDaniel to get out of his head with what he's doing. We at no point in that Jets game felt like we were out of that game and we needed to pass. Going into one of our last drives to end the third quarter, and last two drives, we went 5 consecutive incomplete passes to start drives. And then luckily on the 6th play, so we didn't have to punt again, we connected on a 15-yard pass for a first down. We can't get into these games where we shouldn't have to get into these games where Tua has to put them on his back. We need that type of balance and open up the rest of the offense. But I think that this is an opportunity for Miami to go in, play a team that really statistically were very even with one another. We know that if Tua isn't out those games, our record certainly isn't 6-7 right now. So I think that the record is a little bit deceiving for us, but we have an opportunity to do it. Again, McDaniel get out of his head with the play calling, balance it out some. You can't have 19 rushes and 47 passes. And the defense needs to fix what has been ailing them lately.
And we're talking about making Houston one-dimensional. We have to stop making ourselves one-dimensional.
Touché.
We have to – no, that was agreeing with you 110%. We need to – if we're not running between the tackles, then we try to bounce it outside. We can't just abandon it. We have to keep pushing, because once we make ourselves one-dimensional, they only have to stop us one way, and that can't go well for a long time.
The loss of Austin Jackson really hurt the Dolphins. The outside zone is actually non-existent at this time. Matt, any last thoughts on the Texans before we go to the confidence meter?
I just double-checked now that I know what the betting odds are. Dolphins by 20.
Perfect.
Without further ado, let's dust off the all confidence meter. basically want to revisit a question that we had a couple of weeks ago, like maybe a month and a half, about the Dolphins defense. The down the stretch, the Dolphins defense it needs to come huge. If you don't have a running game or a defense during the last part of the season, you're blasted dead. And the Dolphins are struggling basically both. So I want to go around the horn here. I'm going to start with Steve. It's only one question for this time of the segment. How confident are you on the Dolphins defense? Low, medium, or high? How is your confidence right now?
Dolphins defense, I have a high level of confidence because I've seen what they've done on the field. That's where I stand with that. It's a difference of them putting it together because they've shown a couple weeks in a row, but I would say I have a high level of confidence in the capability and the team members that they have. And as you're flashing it up here, I want to give a couple shout outs and then I'll pass it off to Matt here. But Kosa, thank you for showing up. I do want to comment, and we'll talk here in just a moment about Armstead. Adrian, great to see you back, buddy. I've seen you've been extremely busy with your podcast. Hopefully things are going very well for you. But Matt, how confident are you in this defense? You're the positive one. I just gave them a high rating. What do you think?
Yeah, I am highly confident in them. They do things that make me just kind of stare at the screen, and I'll hold my hand out like, what was that? Like when the person cuts you off or they don't use their blinker, and you're like, yeah, go ahead. Just I'm right here. Just go ahead, pull in front of me. And it's usually directed at Jordan Poyer because I still don't know why he's on the team.
There, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I do know why, but beauty's only. So I do have high confidence, and I'll be honest with you. There's a couple reasons, and they're linchpin reasons. Number one, Sealer, Campbell. Number two, Ramsey over there on the one corner, and then Weaver has a pedigree that he brought with him. I feel like maybe injuries have had a greater impact on this defense than what we know or what we're aware of, and that's where maybe Chubb comes in. You plug him in. I saw a statistic yesterday that Chop Robinson has. I shouldn't have even said it. I think he's the highest graded player at his position over the last couple of games, last three games.
Pressures, yes.
Yeah. Not bad for the 21st pick in the draft that was overdrafted and shouldn't have been drafted there. Not too bad for him, right? All those experts out there. I am confident in this team, but that doesn't mean the clock isn't ticking. I think Shari said it earlier. There's 4 games left. We have to win all of these or else. So let's go, boys. Let's do it. Let's do it this weekend.
Well, again, the Dolphins passing defense non-existent during that. I really for a minute I thought so much about Matt saying that they thought that they were on the bye week, and they forgot to. Jalen Ramsey was cooked every single time in a crossing route. It's really worrisome. The pass rush. When Chubb got hurt, I say, oh boy, here we go. And if they find a way to activate Bradley Chubb for the next 4 games, the Dolphins might have a chance to actually put a pass rush on the opponent. But my confidence in the Dolphins defense right now is not really high.
Mine is mid. I would say mine is middle, and I'll tell you why quickly. There's a difference between having confidence in the personnel you have and having confidence in the fact that personnel will produce the way they're supposed to. When I look at our roster, I have confidence in the names that are there. I have confidence in Weaver, and I have confidence in all these men who on paper should be running people off the field in a hurry. However, the execution and the missed tackles makes me middle, because even though your name is, let's say Bradley Chubb comes back, even though your name is Chubb, if you're missing tackles you should be making, then it doesn't matter who you are. So I'm mid because I want to see them perform to the expectation that we all have for them.
Cosa is saying, I don't know, the defense for tackling hasn't gone
exactly
away. Absolutely, a different setting. The Dolphins were not in the call, but the missing tackles all over the place. That has to be worrisome.
I definitely agree with that, but I think it's kind of like the yips. I absolutely love the movie Tin Cup, and he goes out in the driving range, and Cheech Marin has him turn his hat kind of sideways, puts all of his change and teas in one pocket, and does a bunch of other stuff. And he's like, "How is this going to help me?" He's like, "I don't know. You just look like an idiot, but you're not inside your head." So they need to find a way just to get back to basics. They're a bunch of grown men that need to learn how to tackle. However, I know I rated them high, and I know that I guess we're in the second hour of our show here, so that's why I'm overly optimistic, because I tend to show up to these things pessimistic, and then I turn around. But it's undeniable. They are an aging roster, and those are one of the things that hurt us. But also what happens is teams, they're out there, and they're trying to find ways, how can we make Miami's great defense from the first half of the season perform less well? One thing I did see, and I believe that teams are going to start doing, is they see that we're in man coverage, and they shift somebody over to where Jalen Ramsey was on Devontae Adams, and they brought somebody over. So now no longer Jalen Ramsey on Devontae Adams, he's on Joe Schmo, and you've got Kader Kohu now guarding Devontae Adams, which is a mismatch. They're going to continue to. Yeah, but I don't know defense. I don't know what Weaver's calling. Maybe it's just, hey, Jalen, doesn't matter who's over there, you're on the boundary. But that at that point becomes up to Weaver to figure out. Teams are going to figure this out. What can we do to stay the next step ahead? Hey, it's halftime. Let's do these adjustments. I'm high on the ability of the defense. I agree with everybody's point here. You need to get back to the basics, go back to tackling 101, figure it out, get outside your head, and go out there and do what you've already proven this year that you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah.
Matt, very quickly before we go to the big finish to wrap it up, how confident are you in the defense?
How confident am I in the defense?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very confident in them. They just need to clean it up.
There you go.
Adrian, hi. I saw your post. Thanks. It's my real hair too. It's actually not. I know, surprise. It's not my real hair. I had to get out of the hat this week. I wanted to try something different. So there I have this lovely Dolphins wig on tonight. Good to see you, Adrian.
We still need the bucket hat to make an appearance before the season's over. Let's go to the big finish.
Oh, I'll bring it back next week. We just got to win.
Well, over 670 all platforms on Fizz TV tonight. Please give us a like, give us a share. Go to YouTube, help us out, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate every single one of you. We love the community. We try to be a positive podcast for the community. So these times are very hard. So to be positive as soon as we can, the most that we can is very good. Please like us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all platforms. And without further ado, let's go to the top 5 power rankings. Well, I gotta confess, I was so happy to drop off the Bills out of top 5 this week, so I could not help myself. So I had to do the Steelers at number 5, at number 4 the Vikings. The big win. The Eagles number 3, at number 2 the Refs. The Chiefs stay at number 2, and number 1 the Detroit Lions.
Oh, 11-1 Lions, man! How incredible for them!
They're playing so good, and Campbell has that team so ready. They're having a great season. Hopefully,
and the injuries that they have on defense. They're overcoming. Man, it's incredible. And before you get into this, Sammy, you know what? I don't even think Adrian had any intention. I'm calling you out, Mr. Luxurious. You had no intention of joining for any reason other than the last 10 minutes because you knew what's about ready to come.
Absolutely. So hopefully Bearded is somewhere to give his victory lap. So let's
happy birthday, by the way, Bearded.
Absolutely.
Yesterday.
Happy birthday to our friend Bearded. We love Bearded. Hopefully he's back to the Fizz TV Awards during the season this year. So let's go to the Pick a League rankings. Well, it was supposed to be the presentation for the Pick a League ring, but the horse carrier lost, so no, it's going to be next week. Shari number 10, Blue Fernando number 9, Tiffany number 8, Sean Sullivan, Legal Show number 7, Boy Fista number 6, Steve on number 5, The Fin Tuber number 4, our Fringes of Sun number 3, at number 2, The A Train, And number 1 still, Bearded Fanatic.
Up slow progress. I give you props, man. You gotta eat that elephant one bite at a time, and that's exactly what you're doing, man.
He gained a game on our friend's
Yes, he
unit,
did.
so it's getting close. I was hoping to have a video presentation for the PTB Pickle League championship ring, but the horse carrier on the bell got stuck in it. Hopefully next week. The video's almost ready, so we need
The
to
big
wait for it.
reveal.
For the
I
big
like it.
reveal of
Before
the
we
championship.
Before
go
we
ahead.
run, I want to say one thing. It is the time of year where we need to extend kindness to people. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know what they're going through. I had an interaction today. Someone wasn't very nice, and I took a step back and I said, I have no idea what's going on in that person's life, in their mind, in their heart. Give people grace, give people kindness. It's difficult for a lot of people this time of year, so please spread smiles and happiness, please.
Absolutely. Nothing
Do,
else to be
do I am I included? Like, do
You're
I have
always
to do that?
happy.
That
You're
doesn't
always
mean
happy.
it doesn't mean that I have to be nice.
Tell the neighborhood kids that he's always out there
They can
yelling at
stay
to
on
get
his
off of
lawn.
his grass,
Let them stay on your lawn right now.
waiting for his milk delivery.
Absolutely. Hi, Costa. We saw you in the chat. Without further ado, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. And as always, when you say Miami, you talk the Super Bowl.
Fins
Fins
up.
up.
Fins up, yo.
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe. See you next week. Fins up.